It's loading. Is it visible now?
It's now
Okay. Okay. So hello everyone. This is the fourth season of our presentation, and today I am going to compare the two characters from the novel Only Story written by Julian Barnes. So these characters are the Joan and Susan. So it is our paper number 207, Contemporary Literature in English. So the story begins with the very fascinating quote: "Would you rather love the more and suffer the more, or love the less and suffer the less?" That is, I think, final and only real question. So about the Only Story. So Only Story is written by Julian Barnes, and it is the memory novel, and it was first published in 2018. And the setting is the London 1916, and our narrator is the Robert Paul, and Robert Paul is the unreliable narrator of this story. So about the Julian Barnes was born in 1946 in England, and he was a writer, and he also wrote the novel, short story, essay, and memories. And he also awarded by notable awards like the Man Booker Prize, Jerusalem Prize, Prix Feminine Prize. So let's begin our character evaluation. First, I would like to give the introduction about the Susan McLeod, and later I will give the illustration about the John. So Susan and John both are the important character in this novel. And we can say that Susan is the protagonist of the story. So many incidents, half of the novel based on the love story, and the one-sided character of Susan. That Susan is the most important character. She is the beloved of the 19-year-old Paul Robert, and she is also wife of a Gordon MacLeod. She is the 48-year-old, and she has a two daughters, Clara and Martha. And Susan is not only woman who has the only love toward the Paul, but she has so many relationships throughout her life. So here question is that what is the role of Susan in the life of Paul? So Susan is the antique object of Paul's devotion, remain a vogue and pathetic presence in the novel. And Charles says that that is the doubtly no, disappointing because he is the potentially more interesting than a Paul, and yet another privileged man who got a burn on love despite being such a nice guy. So we can see that Susan is the character is the belonging from the modern era. She is not a character from like a Victorian character, some kind of a good lady, some kind of a very housey and fairy lady. But Susan, we can evaluate that throughout the life, Susan suffered a lot. She met so many bad incidents. She has seen so many disasters throughout the life, and these kind of impact create a great we can say a great disaster in the life and her own character. She is not able to bear such kind of pain. She is not able to bear any kind of distance, and she wants that somebody constantly love her. And one of the most important thing about the Susan is that she is always escaping from the such a situation where she was not able to handle that situation. So Kate, in a one review, Kate is the reviewing that Susan is at the first an alluring, rich, potent presence and full of ironic turn of the speech, from which we infer a great intelligence. But she becomes the reduced by the middle of the book to the series of the repetitive tropes, and while even her nickname, a vital part of her charm, are reduced to the verbal tics. Mr. Ippy for the man who hits her, and hits her, and Mr. Beggar for Paul. So we also notice that Susan gives the nickname to his husband. So it is a very comic. Also, it is very tricky that she is giving the nickname, and while we are reading the particular book, we can find that in the initial part of the novel, the focus is on the Susan, but later on, the focus is turned on to the main character, Paul. Paul tell his story with his memory. So Susan's affair trajectory. So throughout the novel, we come to know that Susan has a more than a three relationship, and these all relationships are disaster for her. So is it really true that Susan is not happy with this relationship, or what kind of things are happen that Susan always try to escape from this relationship? So this trajectory discussed by the Heller in a one book. She wrote a book review that Susan is no Mrs. Robinson. So Mrs. Robinson is the character from the Beverly Grace work, Seduced by Mrs. Robinson. So these are Seduced by Robinson. There is the one character named Mrs. Robinson. She seduced the graduate student. So here Heller says that she is the not Mrs. Robinson, and she is not a mother-like figure. But in fact, it is hard to read it to see her attraction. Barnes spell out the rough contour of the affair's trajectory early on, include how long they will last under the same London loop. And we know from the start that this will not end happily. So we know that Paul and Susan went to London for living together. So one can assume that it will be not possible because the age difference between Paul and Susan is also very high, and maturity also play a very important role. While at the beginning of the novel, we see that Paul was just about to 19 years and Susan was around 48. So they went to London. So one might say that it will be not possible that they might live happily. So, one also important incidents noted by Julian Barnes in the novel that Susan became the victim of child abuse in her childhood. So this is the paragraph talk about that she went to the Uncle Florence home in the summer vacation, and there she was seduced by Uncle Hem. So this makes her character frigid, that she is not able to come with anyone's relationship, or she has become a very one kind of a cold-blooded lady toward these kind of relationships. So childhood abuse create a great impact in the character of Susan. So Alexa reviewed that Susan's identity becomes the obdurated, resistant to the interpretation, and compounded by the buried trauma of her past, and flightingly described the childhood sexual abuse and the stunted, painful marriage. A functioning human being is replaced by one concerned mainly with a fugitive self-protection. So now question arises that the relationship of Paul and Susan also becomes a disaster. So who is the responsible for this disaster? Is Paul responsible or Susan responsible? So Eric reviewed that we know quickly enough who killed the relationship and how it's going to end. It's clear soon enough that Susan is hurting on a path of unstoppable self-destruction. What we have left guessing until the very end is why she does it, only to be frustrated in our quest for understanding in the resolution tool. In a true postmodern indeterminacy, the issue of that Susan feels for 3 or 4 men in her life is partly in doubt, as is her possible frigidity, and until the end, she remains obscure and unknowable. So throughout the life, Susan has more than a 3 relationship. At the younger age, she has a relationship with Gerald, and she also with a relationship with Gordon, and she married, but the marriage was not so much happy. And she has a 2 daughters, but still the husband and wife are sharing the bed. So this kind of says that this is the frigidity, or we can say the not happy life of Susan. And this happened with Paul also, that when Paul come to the relationship with Susan, there is the not happy relationship between them. So it is the character of Susan. Now character of John. So for the character of John, we can just refer the only novel. So John is the former tennis partner of the Susan McLeod, and she is the 53-year-old lady. In the novel, she has been with the Yeppers, and she is the sister of Gerald. John had looked after their father until his death and had never married. She liked dog and took an afternoon gin or two. So about the Joan that she was the large woman in a pastel blue trouser, and she had a tight curls and brown lipstick, and was approximately powdered. And she is around 53, and she kept yappers with her. One yapper died, and she decided that never them, because when you are alone and you love someone, and wherever they were and they die at the time, you feel that the pain, like you are lost to the person. And later on she kept another dog named Sybil. So she spent her life with Sybil, and she drank, she smoked, and played tennis and crossword. So we can say the two different women from each other. While Susan has a relationship, no doubt that Joan has a relationship, but she has not that kind of emotional relationship. Or Joan never claimed that you are become the reason of my disaster. So Joan is that kind of character. She knows that whatever happening to me is for that I am responsible. So we can say that Joan is here stand for the counter character for Susan. So, what is the story of Joan? So, Joan was played tennis very well, and she and her brother Gerald won a pretty much everything and up to the country level. And when Gerald died, Joan was devastated. They lost their mother when they were little. Their father had a work very day in that insurance company, so they were through into the depending on one another. And when Gerald died, she went off the rails a bit and started sleeping with the people. So we can say that Susan is always blaming to each another person. And here Joan accepted whatever situation was that. Joan is a very mature person, very understanding person, and she accepted each and every situation. So this kind of a difference we can find in a Joan and Susan. No doubt that Susan has seen so many disasters, so many bad things, so many pain in life. But when we are comparing the character of Joan and Susan, we come to know that Joan has seen more than Susan. She passed with so many bad incidents through the life, but she is stick to with her own decision. She is not blaming anyone. She lives alone. She find that now nobody is mattering, and whatever happening is not mattering. We have to do whatever we want to do with ourselves. So compare and contrast of Joan and Susan. So this comparison is done by me. Susan is the most important character, and Joan is the also most important character. And throughout the novel, we find that there is the most of talk between Paul and Joan. And Joan advised him to how to behave, what is the moral of life, and there is a one beautiful incident where Paul asked to Joan that why she had cheated in a crossword. So there is a very good comment, so good answer given by the Joan. And I have also mentioned this. We will see that. So she is married, and she. And still, Susan was affair with a 19-year-old Paul, and she is totally different from Joan. And Joan is the totally contrast to Susan, and throughout her life, she also faced so many bad incidents. So Susan and Joan are totally different, and Joan is the more mature, understanding, and Joan is the counter character of Susan. She had digested the philosophy of life. Susan throughout the life faced so many things like a child abuse, her marriage was not so much happy, and also relationship with Paul, she become alcoholic. Her two daughters also abandoned her. But while we evaluating the Joan's character, we see that her life was also disaster. She had faced so many pains, but Susan. She knows how to, but Joan knows that how to digest these things, how to handle the situation. We cannot blame each and everybody for our pain, our sorrows. So Susan throughout their life tried to escape from the situation, while Joan is the best example of character who understand for existential philosophy of life. So Susan drink like anything and she want to escape from the life, while Joan is not doing that. She is independent, and Joan is the character who now understands that what are happening. We are responsible for that. And there is the one incident when Paul asked to Joan about the cheating in the crossword. So she said that, you see, I hope You never get there yourself, but some of us get to the point in life where we realize that nothing fucking matters. And one of few sides benefit of that is, you are not going to go to hell for filling in the wrong answer in the crossword. So there is she is talking about the crossword, but simultaneously she is talking about the life. So this kind of philosophy and this kind of we can say that the way of living the life describe a Joan. So to summing up, we can say that character of Joan is the more fascinating in the novel. And Joan has faced so many disasters, so many pain, but she has the ability to digest it. And Susan's character and Joan's character is totally contrast. Joan stands as the counter character for the Susan. So if one can do it the evaluation, that he or she can find that John's character is the more strong character. She stands for Susan, that Susan is doing this kind of thing, but it is not true. We can live our life with our own way. We cannot blame anything. So these kind of things are among between Paul and Susan. Thank you. Here is my work citation.
Who is asking questions?
Yes, Nidhi. According to you, Susan is really Nidhi. What according to you is really Susan is really responsible for her chance to depict the character of Susan? What will you your
Mm. Yes, Susan is responsible whatever happening with her. And if I have a chance to depict the rewrite the character of Susan, I make a few changes. Like Susan is a very weak character. She, no doubt that has suffered so many pains. She have seen like child abuse. Her marriage was not happy. Her fiance, like Gerald, also died. But our life is in our own hand, and we cannot blame each and everybody whatever happening with us. So if I have a chance to rewrite the character, I make a few changes like this. So my Susan will be more mature than this Susan.
Okay, so Nidhi, my question is, are you feeling same like the characters of the only story? Like many times we do mistakes and we blame others for this mistake. So have you feel like this kind of situation in your life?
Mm. Yes, Lata. It is our human nature that if we have done mistake, we are always trying to search a window for our escape. We are blaming each other because if we are not doing this, we cannot live. Like we have a grief that, today, for example, I have beaten you, and then if I'm not giving a proper reason, like Lata is behaving bad with me, and she had done the same I have did. So if I'm not doing this, beating you will create me more grateful. So we are always trying to search a window for escape our mistake, to blame each other.